I'm Mark Seifter.
And I'm Linda Zayas Palmer.
And this is Arcane Mark.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Arcane Mark. Today we're going to be collaboratively building a hazard together with the folks on Twitch.
That's right.
As always, when we do our collaborative workshops, well, almost always, we just had one where you do start with the level, which is when you're building an encounter. But as almost, asterisk, always, we start off with a concept. And I see that there is a concept of Pit of Oozes already in chat.
Yes. So everyone in chat, if you have an idea for a hazard, you can put it in.
Sweet.
To help you get started to thinking about the hazard that you're making, there's 3 main types of hazard in Pathfinder 2nd Edition. Because this is also a stream for people who may have been some of those 74,000 people who just got the Humble Bundle and are thinking about making a hazard. What is a hazard? Like, you may have heard of traps in Dungeons & Dragons, for example. So traps are one of the types of hazards. Hazards include traps, which are generally something that was intentionally built to trip people over and mess them up.
Speaking of trip, thanks for the sub, Trippy.
Hey, good to see you.
Hi, good to see you again.
So hazards include traps which were made intentionally, and those traps could be mechanical, magical, or both, depending on how they're made. Environmental hazard, which is just something in the environment that is going to mess you up, like yellow mold or rocks falling in an avalanche, but like nobody like set them up to fall on you. It's just kind of falling, or quicksand.
So environmental hazards can either be, you know, inorganic features of the landscape, or they can be living creatures, but generally not the kind that you would want to have, like, oh, it's thinking and it's doing things and it's taking actions. So like for example, shrieker mushrooms that just make a really loud sound if you get too close to them, or shine light on them, or things like that. That is an example of something that would be a hazard as opposed to like a creature.
Shriek! So, could definitely be a hazard.
And then the final category is haunts. So, haunts are the representation of when a place has unquiet spirits about it. They generally don't have so much of a physical form compared to some of these other ones. But they're a lot more likely to have kind of an intelligence about them as well.
Do you think that you've written the most haunts overall of anyone between Pathfinder 1st and 2nd Edition?
It's possible, in terms of first-party published stuff.
Mm-hmm. You wrote a lot of haunts.
I have written a lot of haunts, yes.
Okay. So
Haunt of Dead Stolen Landlords is another concept we have here.
Yes.
Sweet.
Surprisingly, the one that could be added to Rico's Kingmaker game was not suggested by Rico
this time. Yeah.
Suggested by Turgerman VT. Although the Pit of Oozes probably could still be added to Rico's Kingmaker game too.
I'm seeing some simple and complex here, so I might want to mention what's going on here with these. Simple hazard is a sort of one and done hazard that does its thing. It's like, oh, you know, you triggered the arrow trap, you did that sort of thing. Whereas a complex hazard is one that keeps activating every single round until you find a way to disable it. It does something, yeah. Until
you get rid of the trap. Now, don't be confused. It is possible for a simple hazard to do something that happens over time, like dropping acid on you and you keep taking acid damage each turn, or summoning a creature that you then fight, but the trap is done. Like, you can think of summoning a creature as being either a simple or a complex hazard. If it's simple, it summons it, the trap is gone, now you fight the creature. If it's complex, the trap is still there, and maybe defeating the trap gets rid of the creature.
Yeah. So, for example, a trap that, like, summoned fire creatures, and then as the way that it activates, boom, and then every round it, like, you know, causes a fire to spread or something like that.
That's right. And it's possible, if it's complex, that getting rid of the trap will also get rid of the creatures.
But we can get into that detail a little more.
In any case, Rico has given us another idea, which is fighting inside a really big creature's digestive system, which would be complex as the digestive system tries to digest you, and you trying to get the heck out of there. So it's sort of an inside the Leviathan style hazard. Pit of hell plants that drink your blood from Umbral Corvus.
Pit of hell plants that drink your blood.
That's right.
Cool.
That feels like it's probably a complex to me, because they'll keep drinking your blood while you're in there until you figure out how to stop it. Whereas like a pit with just spikes in the bottom is probably simple.
A cursed fountain in a dungeon.
Yes, cursed fountain in a dungeon.
That's a classic.
Super classic. The fountain doing some weird effect. Is it good or is it bad? Well, we'll have to drink to find out. Unless you're a horrible person and you like feed the fountain to like some kind of guinea pig to figure out what's gonna happen. In which case,
don't be mean to your summons.
In which case, the druid just throws you into the fountain. All right. So let's see if there are any other ideas for a hazard here.
We got 5 already.
5 is pretty good. We've got 14 people watching right now live, so we'll see if anybody else has any hazard concepts that you want to throw in. And if not, we can vote with those 5 as well. So what we're going to be doing is picking one of these concepts. We'll then kind of flesh out whether or not it's a environmental hazard, a trap, or a haunt.
And if it's simple or complex.
Simple or complex, and if it's a trap, whether it's mechanical or magical, or both. So, yeah, it looks like we don't have any more coming, so let's vote for these 5 hazards. Pick your favorite, put the number of the hazard you like best into chat. We'll do a vote, and we will build that hazard together using the hazard building rules. Now, most of these building rules that we've been talking about are in Game Mastery Guide, and so are the hazard building rules.
In Chapter 2 tools.
Chapter 2 tools, yes. Not that Linda uses those hazard rules all the time at work.
Let's see, looks like we got 3, 4.
Yes. Oh, also, Rico added something at the end, but it's too late. It's too late to add the reverse gravity.
But we already called for the vote.
Yes. The vote's already started. We got another 3 also.
All right, 2 3s, 2 4s.
2 3s and 2 4s. Continue voting. Also, I suggest voting for probably 3 or 4 since they already have 2 votes each. But maybe, 2 isn't that many, so maybe people will change.
Another 3.
Aha! Now 3.
Another 3.
Okay.
All right, the 3s run away with it.
The 3s have it.
So what are we doing? We are fighting inside a really big creature's digestive system.
Yes.
Complex.
It is a complex hazard where we've been swallowed by like a leviathan.
Another 3 came in. Fittingly, Eater of Worlds likes the idea of...
Yes. Well, Eater of Worlds just wants to know.
What happens?
Wants to know, we're kind of doing like a white hat hacking here for Eater of Worlds. So if Eater of Worlds eats a world, or any of us, wants to know how we would try to get out. So that to make sure to cover up those like vulnerabilities. We're going to figure out what this hazard is, where you get swallowed by a Leviathan or a Catastheus or an Eater of Worlds, and you're getting hit by a complex hazard. So what level of hazard do you think this would be?
Well, first of all,
keep in mind, it does not need to be high enough to be the level of what the monster would be if you had to actually fight the monster directly. As like kaiju are so high level that even 20th level characters can't really fight them and win. But the hazard that is like the inside of even a kaiju's body, if that's what it is, could be lower level than that, because that's the level of who could handle this hazard. So what level? Just type any level number that you think this could be in chat for the level of this hazard as we build it together.
We missed the what type it is. This is not a constructed thing like a trap. It's not like a...
This is an environmental hazard.
It's an environmental hazard.
Yes, for sure.
It is, so we know it's complex environmental.
All right. So we have 1 vote for 9, 11 for the levels. Let's see, 15. Because Rico's thinking it's a kaiju size.
16. Of course, Eater wants to make sure that people understand that
only Eater of Worlds knows what level they themselves are and want to make it at the right level for that. Because if we just talk about how to get out of a level 9 creature, it won't help as much in that situation.
13.
So we got a 13. So, alright. It seems like somewhere around 13 is kind of in the middle there, because 12 would be in the middle of all of them except Eater, then there's also a 16.
Yeah.
So let's make it a level 13 hazard. So we're going to do a level 13 complex hazard that is an environmental hazard, where you have been swallowed by some kind of a kaiju creature, and you're trying to get out. So now I'm going to let chat suggest the sort of identity of the creature that's swallowed. It doesn't have to be like the name of a creature, but it could be like a giant worm monster, or like an electric thunderbird, like an enormous rock-sized thunderbird, or bigger than that. Like, it would be useful to have some sense of the creature. Obviously, we can do a generic one that's just like kind of muscular contractions and stomach acid. But
we have an idea of the Cloverfield monster.
So if you have ideas for what kind of monster has swallowed us, it could potentially help us decide what the stuff that's going to happen to us inside of the monster is going to feel like, in terms of like the bad things that happen. Burning Bird.
A burning bird, very cool.
Who has its name in AP, but won't be said. Sea creature might work for the lower levels, and is a classic, says Rico, like a sea serpent or some kind of giant sea monster. Or monster. Pathfinder First Edition's Catestheus, which has a bigger than inside stomach.
Well, Cloverfield monster is a sea monster, isn't it?
I don't remember a lot about the Cloverfield monster.
I mostly remember the marketing campaign was like, oh, nobody knows what it is.
It is a sea monster, so there you go. Is some kind of Daikaiju-sized sea creature. Let's see. Jonah and the Whale plus OOT Dungeon. We can mix 3 and 4 and say it's a creature from hell. Was one thought.
Creature. Okay, so we have Cloverfield monster.
Or we have like sea creature, burning bird, hell beast, and mountain earth elemental. Let's vote between those. I'm putting the sea creatures together because
otherwise they'll compete with each other.
They definitely are a very classic situation. Like, when I was writing the Leviathan Tane for Pathfinder First Edition, I even put, like, a city inside of the Leviathan.
Oh, yeah, cool.
The City of the Lost.
So that's going to be... meh. Does not want to copy and paste for me.
Meh?
Hello,
no. Weather King.
There we go.
Okay, so vote for these.
I had cut, and I didn't want to paste, and then it wasn't letting me undo my cut.
So vote for these. Put in a 1, 2, 3, or 4, depending on which one you like. 4, Mountain Earth Elemental.
Thanks for gifting us up, Rico.
4, Mountain Earth Elemental. Oh,
4.
The Mountain Earth Elemental came in later, but was sure popular.
3, another 4.
All right.
I think
we're doing this. This is a colossal Earth Elemental, the size of a mountain. There were 2 2s that came in,
but there
actually,
were 4
4s. I think there were 4 4s. So we're gonna do this. The colossal Earth Elemental, the size of the mountain, has swallowed us, and we're inside of this mountain elemental.
So I've got the names. Okay.
So we're inside of mountain elemental. This is a complex hazard. So first of all, let's talk about what we're using for initiative here. Now, normally you roll a stealth modifier for initiative, but obviously the fact that you've been swallowed by a mountain earth elemental is probably really obvious to
Yes.
everybody. Like, nobody's gonna be like, gosh,
Gosh, I didn't notice
did I
that we just
see that we were swallowed by a mountain earth elemental? Did it sneak up on us that we
Mhm.
were swallowed by a mountain earth elemental? I think everybody knows that, so we're probably gonna use a non-standard initiative here. I would say maybe once you get swallowed, the initiative against the hazard is based on the athletics of the mountain earth elementals insides, and you can probably roll your choice of athletics or acrobatics to see how you're doing on initiative. It's not like perception versus stealth. Everyone knows that you got eaten by the elemental. Eltro said maybe they were eaten while they were asleep. So, in any case, it would actually list like an athletics modifier for initiative here because...
And then, yeah, PCs roll athletics or acrobatics.
Yep. Now, this is a level 13 hazard, so we can be extreme, high, or low in our initiative modifier.
Mhm.
I would say that it's probably really good at this athletics modifier, I think. So, I think that
Yeah, it probably is.
it's probably plus 30. It's probably extreme. We swallowed by an entire mountain.
Yeah, we did.
Its initiative is going to be good. We can be a little kinder to everyone on other kinds of
Extreme.
things.
Yes, for sure.
So, in terms of the disabled DCs, we're going to allow certain types of skill checks that we can use to, like, make some of the insides of the mountain elemental, like, safer so it can't harm us.
Mhm.
That might be a little easier to handle than the extreme athletics of it,
Yeah.
being able to figure out what to do.
So I'm
Let's
thinking
put that-
crafting might help because you're
That's one
reshaping
example,
the
sure.
mountain, one of the possible skills.
So we can put in multiple skills with different DCs for each one. So I think crafting makes sense. Probably nature to
Yes.
understand the nature of the earth element. And then I'm thinking like maybe athletics to just like literally like
Push it out of the way.
shove things aside and like try to push against it. But that's
That's
probably the hardest
hardest
one.
Yep.
Yeah, I think so too. And Wither King says that mining lore should be allowed.
Oh yeah, mining lore, totally.
So for the one that's crafting, we should probably say like crafting or mining lore. Or no, I guess the mining lore would be
lower,
even easier.
so yeah.
Yeah.
I'll just put mining lore in there too.
We can put mining lore in there. That makes sense. And Eater of Worlds had a suggestion for that it may have like a dust cloud in there and falling rocks as part of like its routine. So
All right, I'll put that suggestion down a little
All right.
farther below, so
Yes.
we can
So
do that.
let's
we get
put
to that part of
in
the step up.
let's put in those things. So I'm thinking that maybe we have that crafting is DC 32,
Mm-hmm.
and so is nature, whereas mining lore is DC 30,
30. Yep.
and then athletics is DC 37. What do you think?
Sounds good. We got our standard.
We're using high and two of the numbers in the
Mhm.
low range.
Yes. DC 37.
Okay.
Standard -2 for the things that are supposed to be easier, and +5 for things that are supposed to be really
So
hard.
how did I find these? Table 2-13 in Game Mastery Guide had a table, and for level 13, it suggested an extreme value would be 40, which we used to
Mhm.
make a +30 for athletics. 40 as if it was just a static and it wasn't rolling.
And the instructions in the Game Mastery Guide say like, what do you do if you?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then we had 37 for a high value, which I put for athletics because we were saying that would probably be harder to fight against its strength. And then for low values, it said 29 to 32, so we put 32 for nature and crafting and 30 for mining lore because its lore is much more specific.
Yes.
All right, so that's what we've got in terms of the stealth and disabled
How many
DCs.
checks is this going to take to disable it?
So as a complex hazard, it's probably going to take quite a few if we want to really actually make this area like stable and safe and not have rocks falling and other things in it. What do you think, Linda? Like 4?
4?
Yeah, I think so. So we're going to need 4 checks.
4 checks to
Which
disable.
a critical success will give us 2 of the successes that we need. If we actually manage to get that by rolling a natural 20 or succeeding by 10 or more. But I doubt we're going to succeed by 10 or more. Maybe in mining lore or if we get lucky.
Yeah.
Alright, so does it have a minimum proficiency for any of these things? Since we are at level 9 to 18, it's possible that we could put a master or expert proficiency into things. Master is the kind of really tricky one, expert is more moderate, and it's okay to do some that are trained. In fact, we should. So obviously, just using athletics seems like something anybody could
do,
try.
yeah. And generally too, if you have something that has like a higher DC, it's more likely to require you to not require quite as much proficiency, whereas like some of the things that have a lower DC might be more likely to require you to be better at the thing.
I think if anything in this, like that maybe nature, you need to be an expert before you start understanding elemental earth quite as well. So maybe we can knock down the nature difficulty to 31, even though it's not a lore, and say that it requires an expert in nature, whereas anybody could try to craft something.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking.
That sounds good
to me. But it really could be anything. Alright, let's see. So, we now are going to look at the defenses of the hazard. Like, how does it stop you from killing it? So, yes, we can just attack this hazard. It's going to have hit points, because it's like the inside of this creature. So, one of the ways to stop it
is to smash your way through.
So, you could either make 4 successful attempts on disable, or, you could they're probably like, just smash the body of it until you've dealt enough damage to defeat it.
Yes.
So, in that case, let's take a look at what we've got here. Now, it says specifically that it has some hit points, but it also mentions that for complex hazard, may divide durability among multiple sections.
If you were like attacking different points of it to try to make your way through.
Yes.
Although like this one
might
feels
just
like,
all be in one place.
Yeah, this one feels like you're like trying to make a hole that you can get through to escape.
That makes sense, or that you're at least destroying some of the parts that are damaging you.
Yeah.
So, let's see what we've got here. It says that we need to determine the AC, fortitude save, and reflex save using extreme high and low values, as well as hardness, hit points, and broken threshold. If it has no form, like it's just a magical
pure
rune
magic
or something like
or
that,
or like a haunt or something like that, then you don't.
Then we can skip this section. So let's take a look at this. I feel like it's made out of rock.
So it's probably going to be more, but it's also like completely around and surrounding you. So I feel like it's going to be something that goes more on that sort of like hit points and hardness type thing versus the
I think that makes sense.
Versus the AC in terms of its defenses.
Yes.
And that if you think about like the saves that this thing has, then it's probably going to be better at fortitude.
That makes sense as well. That it would be better at fortitude than reflex for sure.
Wither King has a question. Is it something you can wander around in, or is it a relatively simple knob?
So, I'm imagining that you have a little bit of a map of it, but that it could also be done Theater of the Mind, because just to make it easier for the GM to run and not have to be like, are you in this area or not, you could make a version where there's like different points that you have to go to and interact with, like little mining spots where you have to put up the crafting, and then there are different AoEs inside of it that get hit, but I feel like if it's about room size, like Rico was saying, then you could just have the attacks hit throughout the area. And Rico pointed out, you could have also combine this with an encounter with small earth elementals that are not getting damaged by the hazard, and make it higher level. Make it higher level than you would think from just having a level 13 hazard on it. Absolutely.
Yeah, so the dust cloud and falling rocks are going to be hitting like that whole area.
So in terms of AC, we can say that it has so there's an extreme high and low AC. So maybe it has a
not extreme, I don't think.
Not extreme. Maybe it has a in between high and low. Maybe it has like a 32 AC. And its high save is fortitude. In fact, it's a giant mountain. Maybe it's extreme. Maybe it's plus 29 fortitude, but plus 20 in reflex. And so hardness is 21 to 23. Let's give it on the upper end of hardness. So let's give it 23 hardness. And then actually we gave it pretty low AC. So we could maybe even let's give it 25 hardness and 100 hit points. It's a little higher than it would normally have, but its AC is pretty low.
Yeah.
So the real problem is it's made of rock. It's really hard. So we could either deal enough damage to try to take it out through its ridiculous hardness, or we could try to disable it. So now we need to figure out our offense. So we heard that rocks are falling. Also, it's gonna have.
There's one thing I want to go ahead and break into here, because when you have a complex hazard, there's the reaction where it first activates.
It's trigger.
So this could be as simple as the hazard rolls initiative. But a lot of times there's some other thing that might happen when it activates. Then there is also the thing that's going to keep happening round over round every single time. So
That's
the
right.
activation is the one and done thing, and then after that you've got the continual effect.
Right. So here's what I'm thinking. The activation is like sort of like a peristaltic action kind of thing. So basically, you've all been swallowed by the creature is the trigger. It rolls initiative with athletics, and you're kind of dumped down a chute, and you have to make a your choice of a reflex save or maybe an acrobatics check to avoid like taking bludgeoning damage and falling prone when you first arrive in the area. As you're sort of dumped into this room, this room-sized chamber inside of the Earth Elemental's digestive system. And that may be what kicks off a dust cloud that causes everything to be concealed. And perhaps, if you can't find a way to deal with the concealment, then, I mean, already that means that if you try to attack, it's going to be
harder to attack it,
Yep.
And if you put it together with Earth creatures that are in the area and are like, oh, we're just using the tremor sense.
That's right.
Yeah.
So, Wither King mentions Rob by Run elemental reinforcements, and in particular, we're not going to put in... You could. There are hazards that have the elemental reinforcements as the hazard, but then it wouldn't be doing anything else. And I could even imagine a whole adventure inside this Earth creature where one thing is a hazard that just is sort of like the white blood cells of sending in Earth creatures. You could even use, there's a hazard that's around the right level that just keeps making, like, I think, telekinetic puppets out of objects, and that's similar to Earth creatures, so you could even just literally use that one. However, in this case, we're going to make a hazard that is just a sort of attacking it for being sort of digested. And then, as Rico mentioned, Earth creatures could be added separately, and they would be part of the encounter budget separately.
Yeah, consider adding Earth creatures.
They would be separate to the encounter budget, to the complex hazard, not part of the hazard, but just another part of the encounter to make it more interesting. So, but absolutely, you could do a whole adventure with this, and I can try to figure out the name of the complex hazard that I'm thinking of, so that I can tell you what it is, and you can then potentially use that hazard in your game if you're gonna run this one.
You got the biggest one, the highest level ones you've got are the elemental avalanches, which are huge.
In terms of
just basic Earth elementals,
yeah. So
you could use those if the room is big enough.
Yep.
Or you could make a version, or you could make a smaller high-level version of Earth Elemental, or use some other kind of Earth Elemental-y creature. Or it doesn't have to be an elemental. I was thinking of it like...
I think it's called the Telekinetic Swarm Trap. It's level 12 complex hazard, so it's right on in the same level range, and you could use this as part of this. Just turn it into Earth Elementals instead of telekinetic creatures, and make it a different hazard that you throw later on during this adventure that's inside the Earth Elemental. So for this one, though, it sounds like
it kicks
up a dust storm, and then, yes, falling rocks are just crushing us. That's what our routine is. So each round, we're going to crush you with falling rocks. And just based on, maybe we have 4 actions And each of those 4 actions is going to do a small amount of damage.
And then if we disable, if we get one of the successful checks to disable, that removes one of the actions.
Yes. Whereas damaging it, you have to finish and like make the hole to get out, and otherwise it won't help you partially along the way.
Disable removes 1 action.
So, because of the fact that there are 4 smaller attacks, we can divide up our 32 complex damage. There's just a table that says level 13, 32 damage. We can divide up that damage among the 4 attacks. Let's say it is, let's see. So, obviously 32 divided by 4 is 8. So, we could make it be 1d8 plus 4, for example, if we wanted to. But maybe given that people can have resistance or things like that, it's much easier to resist it. We can make it a little more. So, let's make it like, 2d4 plus 4. That's 9 on average. So it's a little more damage, but it happens in 4 chunks. So if you have even a little bit of resistance, it's not really that damaging to you. It's across the entire room with each action. So it's wide area. That can also be why be why it doesn't hurt the earth elementals if they happen to have resistance to physical attacks.
Yeah. So it's bludgeoning. Now is this something that? So is this then a something that's hitting against AC or reflex save or what defense?
It's probably a reflex save.
I think about reflex save.
With like pummeling rocks. So the hard DC is 33. The extreme DC is 37.
Maybe just a basic reflex save.
So let's make it a basic reflex save DC 33, and also if you critically fail, you're knocked prone.
Yeah.
That can be more relevant if you're actually fighting earth elementals, but it could still matter in terms of your actions if you are need to be moving around, especially since there's 4 of them potentially, so you have a decently high chance of rolling a natural 1. Obviously, it's not that high, but when you're rolling 4 times, some people are gonna get a natural 1. So these numbers are all taken off of table 216 offense. So that's what we've got, and we've designed a complex hazard. We've even thought about what the adventure would be like and decided that you could throw a telekinetic swarm trap, possibly with even more earth elemental since it's lower level hazard. Or just say, hey, it's an easier encounter. It depends on what level your group is, right? If they're level 11, say, then this trap that we just made alone is going to be a moderate encounter, and the telekinetic swarms trap alone would be a low threat encounter. That's just because hitting the entire room with 9 damage 4 times. 9 might not be a lot, and it really actually isn't if you have enough resistance. It's just like a static amount of resistance, even if it's a small amount. But taking 36 every round at a DC that's probably hard for you if you were, say, level 11, like I was saying, is going to add up.
I think we can just say, the earth creatures are immune to the falling rocks, because they're probably, like, part of the system of this.
Yes, I think that makes sense.
And have high bludgeoning resistance.
Yep.
In general.
So, other hazards that could fit in here that already exist.
What was the one you did?
The telekinetic swarm trap, but you would reflavor it as being earth elementals instead of telekinetic puppets. Let's see. So, that is in terms of complex hazards. I don't think there's any other complex hazards that are, like, right in the correct level range. But there's some simple hazards that could work. Let's see. There's a quaking slither that's like a kaiju hazard, where the creature slithers on the ground and causes the earth to tremble from an earthquake. We could probably reflavor that. That's level 14. Let's see what else there is in this level range. No, I don't think there's a lot of other ones in the level range that are exactly right. Although, you could say that the planar rift trap was a rift to the elemental plane of Earth that appears at some point in time. That's a level 13 simple hazard. Just to continue the adventure. Oh my gosh, we've been sucked into the elemental plane of Earth.
Yes.
And you can have some encounters in this adventure we're building inside of the Earth Elemental that are like literally just the creatures and don't necessarily have a lot of hazards, or that just have some annoyance from the creature that swallowed you, where it's like, okay, you're fighting these Earth monsters, and also like every round like the creature is shaking and you might fall over or something like that.
Also, another thing that I'm thinking about from this creature, like as you're going through the digestive system and things like that, is sort of the idea of like forced movement and like someone being moved into another area and then like that part of the system closes and there's a wall behind them.
Muscular action closes the hole.
And so then you have some cases where party members are temporarily separated from each other, and then you're doing encounters where they have to like find a way back together, or they've got to like fight some monsters with a weaker group or things like that before they can get back together.
Mm-hmm.
This could be some dwarf's dream house. Legit.
Yeah. The dwarf just makes it safer and then sets up like a forge and a fortress.
Yeah, fortress like, come mess with my forge. Just no.
Yeah, you can't mess with me. I'm living inside a Kaiju Earth Elemental. So that's what we've got. We've got a hazard that we built around to like an entire adventure around it. I'm
gonna add legendary dwarven crafter who lives in the kaiju stomach to our list of suggested encounters.
Yes, that could be a social encounter.
Yes,
cranky dwarf. See if you can actually influence the dwarf into listening to you and helping forge things instead of like attacking you or trying to kick you out.
So that could be a reason why you didn't just get swallowed by accident, or maybe you did get swallowed by accident. Then you realize, oh my gosh, actually.
Maybe you got swallowed on purpose because you heard that a legendary dwarf disappeared and you wanted to get the dwarf's, like, forge materials because they were obviously dead. And then when you got there, the dwarf was still alive and was just in there. And you had to figure out what to do. So, there we go. We've built a hazard. We've built an adventure around it. I hope that you enjoyed, and I hope that if you have never built a hazard before or seen hazards in Pathfinder 2, you can see they're not too bad. You just need to look at the statistics on that table. You do need a trigger, and if they're complex, you have a routine of each round what your hazard is going to do.
I realized something else. Or maybe what you've heard is that the dwarf lives in this mountain. You don't know it's a mountain elemental, and you go and you're like, what the heck
What's going on? And the dwarf is like, ha ha ha.
You try breaking into my place.
Don't break into my house. It's a mountain elemental. So yeah, we're going to put this up on tiny.cc/arcanemark. I'm going to link that. It is a Discord, just in case you get surprised by what happens. It's going to be in the workshops channel, so you can just see all that information there. And other than that, I think let's say goodbye to YouTube and then do our outro with everyone who's here on Twitch. All right. Bye, YouTube. See you next time.
Bye.